What's up? What's up?
Happy, new week. And
July 1st.
Honestly, I think maybe when you're listening to this, it's going to be July 5th.
Yeah.
So what a day,
Yeah, seriously.
It's going to be the best. Jake, how are you?
It's good, it's a beautiful Thursday.
No, how are you?
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. How is today?
No, I'm good today. But I was going to say, it's because it's a beautiful Thursday.
Wow.
It's a beautiful Thursday. Sun's out. Not like last week.
Guns out.
I'm
just kidding. Sorry.
Sun's out. Pew, pew. Guns out. Nah, I'm just
You
kidding.
playing video games later?
I've been playing a lot of... I was up till like 2 in the morning yesterday.
Stop.
Playing video games.
That's late.
Catching dubs.
Sheesh. At least you're winning.
I have some bags under my eyes, but they're designer, so that's okay.
Oh, my gosh. How many times have you said that today?
Just once.
Oh, okay.
That's the first time I said it.
I thought you were going to say, just the second time.
No. Can't use that kind of sentence twice,
Yeah, that's very true. Can't reuse
Yeah.
the jokes, even though I do that all of the time.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. You know,
Yeah?
I have some coffee because... I don't know. There's something. Here's the thing. I'm not that obsessed with coffee.
Yeah.
But there's something about the warmth that I like.
Jackie Mejia just walked
What
out
is she
very awkwardly. I don't know
doing?
what she's doing.
Hi, we are recording the podcast. Welcome to the podcast,
Welcome.
Jacqueline.
Yeah, you can.
Do you have
watch.
any wisdom for the teens?
Yeah. Give us a piece of wisdom.
They can't hear you. Go up there.
Any day.
No, this is your time.
Okay, she's being a little shy.
She's shy. It's okay. Sorry, I don't know what I was saying. Oh, I was talking about coffee.
Yeah.
I do like coffee, but more than the coffee, I like the warmth. Was my point.
It's like a blanket, for
Yeah.
your throat.
Right. It's probably not that great for my throat, but it feels like it is.
Yeah,
So
right.
I just go with it.
Right.
But yeah. So what's happening? What are we gonna chat about today? What should we talk about?
Well, Andge, we have a spicy topic today. It's
Spicy.
very spicy.
When do we not have a spicy topic?
That's true.
No, this is
Well,
extra spicy.
This one's an extra spicy topic. Andge, you're telling me about coffee, right? We're talking
Yeah,
about
we're
coffee.
talking about coffee.
Andge, how many coffee dates have you been on in the past year?
Okay, the past year, not as many.
Not as many. Oh yeah, I guess COVID,
But,
you couldn't go on them.
right.
But in your lifetime, give me a rough estimate.
I can't give you a number. That's so bad. Here's the thing. I went to a Christian college, and that was a thing.
Shout
it
out
was a
CCU.
thing to go to coffee. That would be a move. The guy would be like, "Hey, would you want to get coffee sometime?" I can't tell you how many of those. And then it's I would just say yes because it's coffee. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And they're paying, so I'm not gonna say
That's how
no.
they reel you in,
I know, but then I would have to. I learned a lot about communication and how to afterwards have to maybe let them down nicely, just because can't just keep things
Right.
going that aren't worth it. But
Yeah. Did
Lots of
any of
coffee
them have weird coffee orders when you went?
weird coffee orders.
Or,
That's a really good question.
Or was it the usual caramel latte, really basic? Can you tell a
That's
person's
such a-
personality trait by what kind of coffee they drink?
Yeah, probably.
yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. I think there was one guy that we both ordered a cappuccino, and I remember him looking at me oh my gosh, that's my order. He was acting like this was a sign
He was
from above.
soulmates.
Was it?
Yeah,
Twin
no, it was
flames.
not. Soulmates. Yeah, I can't remember anything out of the ordinary weird.
Yeah.
I mean, this one guy was really into tea, and I remember being that's cool, but also why do you know so much about tea?
Okay, first of all,
Don't judge.
don't judge tea.
Okay, I'm not judging it. It just was
I
was 18 and he knew a lot about
And
tea.
I was that guy.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I was.
You're not that guy.
I'll give you a story.
Okay.
Mr. Noor
Yes.
Oh gosh.
is obsessed with tea.
Yes.
Right.
If you guys don't know who Mr. Noor is, he was one of my high school teachers.
Okay.
One of the greatest people I know. I love him. He's awesome. He taught me all
He's
about tea.
awesome.
And he taught me how to make it with tea leaves, special kinds of tea. He had a little table set.
gosh.
But anyways, off the point.
Off
Coffee
the point.
dates.
So you were that guy. is
Yeah,
what
I
you're saying.
was that guy. So I understand that guy.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, fine. I won't hate on that. But no, it was ultimately it's good experience if it's just coffee,
Yeah,
and
right.
you're just getting to know someone. I think it's hard because I think naturally I'm probably not as nice now as I used to be, but I feel like it was really hard to not be so kind. I would be like, I was just like trained to be like
friendly,
super friendly,
Yeah.
and like like that's odd, like just be naturally excited. But then I realized that kind of gives the wrong impression, like
Yeah.
kind of like gives off the wrong vibe, and then they're kind of like misled. And I
Yeah.
didn't mean to do that.
Like
I
you
just
put your
was-
customer service voice on.
yeah, a little bit, or like my like. I don't know. Not that I'm like different at church, but
No,
like
no,
sometimes
yeah.
at church you have like we want to be
No,
like
yeah.
really extra loving. So I would just like naturally be like that and be like, oh shoot, I should probably tone it down.
Maybe not the date.
Yeah, not on the date. So
Yeah, that's funny.
yeah. So any coffee dates for you?
You know,
Or-
I'm not a big coffee date kind of guy.
You're a tea date
I'm
kind
a
of
tea
guy.
date kind of guy. You know, no, I don't know. I've never
I
really.
know
like,
it was a weird college thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's more of a you thing. Andge.
Okay.
The only reason I asked is because you're drinking coffee. One.
Yeah, that's
Two,
true.
you've told me about a few different coffee dates
Yes.
that you've experienced.
Yes.
So I just wanted to get your. But anyways, going off that,
Yeah.
we're gonna be talking about relationships. today.
Relationships.
And we're gonna
Whoa.
be talking about what that kind of
Yeah.
looks like for you
Okay.
guys and in high school and
Yeah.
how to navigate that world, because I
Granted-
know it could be a little weird.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good way to put it. A
Yeah.
little weird. And not that we're like crazy experts
Yeah,
at all.
definitely not.
But we have, been through some situations,
Yeah.
been through some experiences, and
Yeah, for
we're just
sure.
trying to help you out where we
Yeah.
maybe went wrong. So
Oh yeah.
Jake, what is, just to start us off,
Yeah.
like what is one piece of advice that you would give someone, maybe like, I don't know, maybe in a relationship or wanting
Yeah.
to be in a relationship? What is your
Yeah.
advice?
So I think for me, whether it's in high school or even now, it's like a lesson that I'm continuing to learn would be like, because you never stop learning, and like
Yeah.
the lessons you learn as a teen, like you take those into your adulthood. So start early, and so but one thing that I learned was make sure that you as a person are whole first,
That's good.
and
Yeah.
and that you're complete, and that you're happy with yourself before you try to get
Yeah.
into a relationship. And because like you can't take care of someone else that you're in a relationship with if you can't take care of yourself,
Wow.
and
Wow.
so that's something I learned growing up, like in high school, with like whether it was like my relationship with a girl or even just like my friends. Like I couldn't necessarily be the person that person needed if I wasn't the person that I needed. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
it's like
Those bars.
you
That's
have
good.
to you really have to hone in on like developing your character and developing yourself, and what that looks like for me. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming you're a Christian. If not, that's cool too. But
Yeah, like we'll
it's
help you out.
developing my relationship with God first. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
for
knowing
sure.
what He says about me, knowing the promises that He has said, and that what He
Yes.
calls me, and that He says that He loves me, and knowing that, you know what I mean?
That's huge.
That, you need that initial process before you can step into a relationship with someone else
That's
and
really
have
good.
it be successful.
Jake, genius, Jake is what I'm gonna call you.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
that was so good. And I also think like when you were talking about like we need to be whole first, it's
Yeah.
like that doesn't mean you have to be perfect,
Right,
or
yeah,
have like
yeah,
your
not at all.
life together completely, because we might never completely in every aspect be totally good.
Yeah.
But it's like making sure that like how would you explain it? Like
Yeah.
you're like, I don't know, like
Don't-
your focus is
yeah.
right, like
I
kind
think-
of on God.
Yeah, keep your focus straight, but also don't try to find a half. You know what I mean? Don't be like, I need this person to be the other half
To
of me,
fill me,
to
yeah,
fill up
that's
a
good.
part of me that I can't fill.
That's really good.
You should be filling that with God, the
God.
Word.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's right.
Friendships that cultivate you, that bring
Yeah.
you up. That like those are the kinds of
Sheesh.
things that you should be looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
A relationship isn't gonna fix your issues.
Nope.
A relationship isn't gonna take away all the bad things that you've experienced, and so that's what I mean by whole. Not like, you have to be
Perfect.
perfect. I'm
Yeah,
saying like
that's
make
good.
sure that you're not looking for another half. Just know that you're already enough, you know? So,
And I think a lot of maybe you listening or maybe your friends that you can think of, like, I think a lot of people get into relationships because of that. Like, they want that affirmation. They want, like, a confidence booster, which, like, shouldn't really be the motivation, I don't think.
Yeah.
And just because you're going to end up being let down. That's, like, the
100%.
why.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. And maybe some of you listening are like, oh, like, my parents won't let me be in a relationship with someone right now because I'm too young. It's like, honestly, listen to them because they have wisdom and it'll protect you at the end of the day. Like, they don't want you to make bad decisions, you know, like, they're trying to protect you. So just, like, take it. The time will come if that's a situation you're in. That happened to me. I think I was like 15 and I really wanted to, like, date this guy, and my parents said no, not until you're 16. And I was like, when was that ever a rule? Like, you never told me this. Like, and I was probably dramatic. I remember calling my brother Jim, like, Mom and Dad won't let me. It's so stupid. But ultimately, like, it was good because it forced me to not get distracted. Like, at the end of the day, even now, like, no matter how old you are, like, a relationship sometimes can be a distraction from what matters. And
100%.
it's like, if it's not adding to your life, like, if you're just spending time with someone just because of something else and it's, like, distracting you from your purpose, distracting you from kind of, like you were saying, like, working on yourself and getting better, it's not worth it. Like, if you're not getting something back, not that you have to be in it for selfish reasons, but, like, if you're spending all this time with someone but they're not making you better at all, like, it's probably not worth it. And so that's honestly been helpful for me even, like, recently. It's like, should I be, like, spending my time or should I be investing my time where I get something back
That's
in
really
return?
good.
So
It's like
crazy.
It's like the whole idea of, like, a relationship shouldn't be like your source of value. It should be adding value to the value that you already have.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so I think, you know, it's so important. Like, really, like, and say that you're someone that struggles with that. Like, I don't feel valued by my parents, maybe, or my, you know, my teachers, or my friends don't appreciate me. A lot of the times, the scapegoat is to find someone that maybe will add that. And a lot of people, like, sadly enough, they'll take advantage of that, and they'll find people that are that feel that way. And you know what I mean? And the most important thing is like, if you feel like you have no value, remember the promises that God has told
That's
you.
huge.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what you can stand on. A person's opinion on you isn't going to change your life in an instant, and it's not gonna fix, like I've been saying, it's not gonna fix anything.
It's not.
You know?
No, and it's cool to just to be able to focus on. I think Brandon and JD have talked about this as well, but, like, I don't know, sometimes people just constantly, like, they're just longing for, like, I want to be in a relationship, like, I want to have a significant other, like, that's their goal. But life is so much more than that. Not that those things that's bad. It's just, like, maybe this is a season where you can focus on your friendships and, like, really strengthening those relationships. Or maybe this is a season, even thinking about the fact that, like, you're not going to be at home forever with your family. So maybe really, like, dive into that. Like, how can you strengthen your relationships with your siblings, which I know, like, isn't maybe something that's on your mind or, like, you think about, because it's like, oh gosh, like, they're the worst. But maybe think about ways that you can, like, love them better and be a better sibling, or be a better, like, son or daughter to your parents. Like, ask them questions, learn from them in this season. Why not? So I don't know, I just, priorities wise, I think it's really easy, and I've been there, to, like, just be, that's, like, all you're thinking about, or, like, all you're wanting. But at the end of the day, like, there really is more. So,
and one question I have is, like,
tell me, I'm nervous.
I don't know, like, maybe you can give me some perspective on this, but, like, like, in high school, or, like, maybe not in high school, like, was there ever a time in your life where, like, you were surrounded by friends that had relationships, and, like, kind of, like, were, like, and you were, like, looking around and you're like, oh, like, I want that, or, like, maybe they were pressuring you into getting into one, and like, you didn't feel like you wanted one. Like, is there anything? How did you balance that if that happened?
Wow, Jake, that's a really great question. And I definitely did feel that. I remember in college, like, I think it was my freshman year, like, all my roommates had boyfriends. My, like, the apartment, like, next door, my RA and all her roommates were dating people. Like, and, like, upstairs and downstairs, like, I just feel like people were constantly talking about their relationships. And I remember kind of being like, what the heck? Like, what is wrong with me? No. But I remember feeling that, like, why am I the only person that's, like, not in that? And I think it was frustrating at times, or maybe, like, more, I don't know, alienating, or like, wow, I'm the only one that's in this situation. But I kind of, at one point, I did flip it. And I remember thinking, like, okay, I'm going to learn, because this also kind of sounds like a lot of drama. Like, they're always talking about, like, the disagreements or the fights or the different perspectives that their significant other was having, or all this, like, stuff, or honestly planning too. Like, they had to, like, plan time with them and plan time with their friends, or they couldn't do stuff because they already had plans with their boyfriend or whatever. So I just remember being like, wow, I'm actually, like, going to learn from them. And I think that sometimes when you're not in the situation, you have better perspective anyways. You know how, like, that happens where, like, you're dealing with something and you're all frustrated, and someone on the outside is like, actually, like, that's probably not a big deal. Like, you don't need to worry about that. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay. So for me, I was on the outside, and I was seeing all these things, like, kind of seeing where both people were maybe going wrong, because it's just, like, outside perspective is 2020 a little bit. I know they say hindsight is 2020, but, like, new phrase. And I just
outside perspective is 2020.
And so I chose to learn from it. I chose to just, like, embrace the season I was in and realize that, like, I'm sure that time will come eventually, but I don't need to, like, want that, because sometimes people who are in relationships wish they were single, you know, like, so obviously I know, like, you guys are, like, in high school too, so you're maybe experiencing that, but I would just enjoy the season you're in no matter what. And that sounds so cliche, but, like, it really is so true.
No, it is for sure.
Yeah, but Jake, okay, tell me, like, what is this? I guess, have you ever felt like that? I have another question, but
I don't think so. Just because, like,
no,
look into
fine.
my little backstory in my life.
Yeah.
My friends weren't the ones that were always, like, getting in relationships. It's like I was.
Oh, dang! Like, tell us how it is.
I was the one that people were learning from, like, mistake-wise. They're like, oh, Jake messed up there. Let me not do that.
Oh, my gosh.
So I was, like, the guinea pig. You know, like, I was, like, the test friend.
Hey, that's good. So,
which is fine, I guess, but, you know, you live and you learn.
You live and you learn.
I look back now and I learn from my mistakes, too, so.
For sure. And, like, obviously no regrets.
Yeah.
But also, like, if you could go back and do it differently, would you?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. Wow.
There's so many moments that I think about where it's like, I could have done this so much better, and, like, I could have handled this situation a lot better. Whether it was, I think, just, like, off the top of my head, one thing is, like, my relation, like, honoring my father and mother, you know, like,
yeah, wow.
My parents, like, they were like, okay, we're not telling you not to date because we just don't want you to, you know? Like, we just don't want you to, like, get too ahead of yourself and then end up getting hurt, or, like, you know,
That's
getting
real.
into something that you're not ready for, you know? And it's like, God honors what, you know, like, God honors you when you honor your father and mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's blessings in that, and there's, you know, you're going to receive a harvest for that.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe, like, your parents are telling you something and they're like, maybe it doesn't make sense to you right then and there, but, like, in a few years you're going to understand, okay, this is why my parents told me that. And, you know, and it's like,
hindsight's 2020 right there.
Exactly. The harvest you receive from that, maybe the relationship that you're going to get into in a few years, you're going to be like, wow, like, if I got into a relationship 3 years ago or whatever, or like a year ago, like, I would have never been in this relationship that I'm in now, you know? Like,
that's so true.
So, that's like, off the top of my head is, like, that's what I would have changed, is, like, listening to my parents more and taking their advice.
That's amazing.
And, like, heeding their voices, really.
Dang.
And,
that's huge. Yeah, and I know we always, like, throw this in there, or maybe sometimes or often we do, but if maybe your parents don't always give, like, maybe they're giving you, like, sound wisdom and perspective, but maybe they're not, like, Christians, or maybe they don't, like, you don't have that relationship with them, also feel free to reach out to leaders in your life
Yeah.
or us, because we want to help you and like we'll be honest with you, and we're not going to be like, yeah, do that. Like if it's not a good idea, like we
Yeah.
want to help
For sure.
like protect you. And once again, not that relationships are bad. We don't want to
Yeah.
paint that at all, because it's good to learn. It's good to get to know people. It's good to experience. But at the same time, you can also like be wise about it and
Yeah.
make sure that your relationship with God is number one ultimately.
Yeah.
So I guess with relationships, whether it's like, you know, a significant other or it's friendships or siblings or whatever, what's like one thing that you feel like makes or helps a successful relationship
Yeah.
in general?
I think, well, like any relationship in general, this
Yeah.
isn't just for like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like this is something that I've learned actually like fairly recently, was that communication
Sheesh.
and actually expressing how you feel to someone, you know, not like holding everything in and
Yeah.
like being closed off. Like that, like communicating what you're feeling is gonna be able to drive your situation and like further
Yeah.
than just like keeping it to yourself.
Definitely.
So making sure that you're very open and honest about how you're feeling, about you know, like how your day went with like your homie, like
Yeah.
that's something that I've learned too, like with my friendships recently. Like I think there's a stigma around guys like not being very emotional and kind of like
You guys feel that?
Yeah.
like
Okay.
you know, like so like I feel like a lot of guys just feel like they can't open up to people sometimes.
Yeah.
And so like if you're a guy and like you're dealing with stuff, like we're as humans, we're not meant to hold things in like that, you
For
know.
sure.
And so go to the people you trust, whether that's your friends or people like your leaders, you know. And if you have a good relationship with your parents, absolutely go to them. You know what I mean? So it's like
Definitely. Yeah.
that's like the key thing in my relationship now and with my friendships now is communicating how I'm feeling and
really good.
not just letting it simmer, because then you build up this anger, like frustration, and like that never leads to anything good. So
Definitely. And going off of that, I would also add like with communication, that's like not only sharing but also listening.
Yeah,
And
100%.
like hearing where they're at,
Yeah.
how they feel, and being able to like really hear it and
Yeah.
then respond that
Yeah.
way. But Pastor even mentioned that at moments recently, like just how listening is so huge, even if it's in maybe it's even like a friend that you don't even know that well, like you're not even that close with, but just like listening and hearing how their day was, or
Yeah.
how maybe like he mentioned, like what their story is, you kind of get to understand why they are the way that they are.
Yeah.
So even if it's a friend you're close to, maybe you don't ask questions, maybe you're just like quick to talk and like talk about yourself, which is great, and I think it's good because
Yeah.
it's better than holding things in for sure.
Yeah.
But also like asking like, how are you, or like hey, like how I know you mentioned like you got this, like you've been doing this new sport, or like I know you mentioned like your family has this going on, like how has that
Yeah.
been? Like
Yeah.
asking questions and initiating that, I think takes practice
That's really
and
good,
doesn't
Andge.
come naturally to everyone, at least.
Yeah.
So kind of putting that into action, really practicing that, getting better at it, and then listening to what
Yeah.
they say instead of just asking and then like, all right, cool, good to know. Like, but like listening, being like, wow, you know, and I think he said last night, or one of our team members recently mentioned, like listening to hear rather than listening to respond, which is tough because sometimes when people are talking, you're like kind of getting ready with what you want to say next, which isn't bad, but like make sure you're actually hearing them and not like letting that be a distraction from what they're saying. So
Yeah.
just a little food for thought, you
I
know,
like that.
communication,
Yeah.
Listening, sharing, open, honest, all good
Andge,
things.
Do you have like any funny like just date stories? Maybe not. They're not like coffee dates, but like just anything funny.
They're
That's
laughing because
happened
they
to
know
you.
I do. Yes, I do. I'm gonna like I give a summarized version
Yeah,
maybe because the details are kind of
For
wild.
sure.
But wait, this does tie in too. Okay, so it's funny, but I think it has a learning takeaway. Okay, so I hope he never listens to this. I don't think he will, because we're not really like connected anywhere on social media. But his name was Doug, and didn't
Doug.
really know him very well, but we went to, like, he picked me up. He was like, where do you want to eat? I was like, I don't care. And then he just, like, turned into Chick-fil-A, like, went over the curb. It was like, oh gosh, rough start. And then paid for my Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And we're, like, sitting there.
A gentleman.
Yeah, a gentleman. Then he, like, basically, I think he, like, asked me, like, one question during that. He asked me, like, what TV shows I watch. But then from then on, like, he just was sharing, like, about his life and so much about him. And I was like, wow, this is a lot of information. And then he was like, all right, so, like, what do you want to do next? And I'm like, I don't care. Like, well, also, why are you asking me? Like, you know, I need a man with a plan. And
Have a plan, boys.
Yeah. And then he was like, well, would you want to go bowling? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, like, he's like, by the way, like, I love bowling. Like, just a heads up. Like, I love bowling. I'm like, okay, like, good to know. Then we get there, pulls out his bowling bag. And I was like,
God.
oh gosh, this is serious. Then he, in the bowling bag, he had multiple bowling balls. And I thought one of them, like, I could use because he definitely had, like, 3 in there, I'm pretty sure. And then I, like, go to, like, grab it. He's like, oh, sorry, like, these are mine. And I was like, oh, yeah, like, no worries. I'm trying to smooth it over. And then I'm, like, walking around the place, like, trying to find my own bowling ball. So then we're, like, bowling. And I swear he just talked so much about himself and, like, did not ask me anything. And when you're bowling with one other person, like, you have to take turns, but, like, someone's always going. So, but he would, like, intentionally stop and, like, sit and want to talk, which is, like, once again, nice, except for the fact that he didn't ask me anything, and I was not talking. Yeah, he was just sharing, like, so much. He told me about his family history, how his dad was a professional bowler. It tore their family apart. I'm like, wow, this is deep. Then he goes into, like, bowling strategies, like, critiquing the way I'm bowling. I'm like, whoa, this is a lot. I mean, I did learn a thing or two, but but he was just telling me, like, random facts at one point. Like, he's like, did you know there's, like, a species in the ocean that can see 12 more colors than humans? I was like, what are we talking about right now? And then I was kind of, like, mad at one point because he kept, like, correcting me, and I was like, I just want to bowl and have fun and get 6 pins down and not feel bad about it. Meanwhile, I forgot to mention this. He also did get, like, 6 strikes in a row. So, I mean, he was good. I'll give him that. Then we, like, I mean, I don't even need to go into all the details, but we, like, drove around, and I swear, like, I was laughing internally because he just did not stop talking about himself. He told me he's a black belt, so many, like, things about him. And I seriously thought at the end, like, that he thinks I'm shy. Like, I think he thinks that I'm a shy person, which you guys all know that I'm not. And I think I'm also fairly open, too. Like, I would have shared more, but, like, he just didn't give me, like, an opportunity to, like, jump in or, like, ask me anything. Like, I tried, and then he would, like, cut me off and tell me a story, and I'd be like, yeah, sure. Cool. So, point is, I felt after that date, I, like, came home and I was like, what just happened? Also, I was in college at the time, but my takeaway, okay, I'm gonna spin it real quick. I know I've been talking for a while, but I'm gonna spin it. What I learned was, like, or how I felt afterwards was I felt very misunderstood because, like, and I didn't feel known. I didn't feel, like, heard. It was just, like, so strange to spend so much time with someone and know pretty much everything about their life on the surface. And, like, he knew nothing about me really, except for, like, my favorite show and, like, my major in college. I'm like, great. But I realized, okay, here's the twist. With God, it's like, are we just talking at him all the time? And, like, I mean, and he's such a good listener. He will always listen to us. He always cares. He always wants to hear. But, like, are we really getting to know him and, like, who he is? Once again, I'm not, like, trying to compare myself to God. But I was thinking about how I'm just sometimes we just, like, vent to God. We talk to God constantly, which is great. And I highly suggest that. But, like, are we listening back for his response? Are we listening back for his solution or, like, his intervention in our lives? So and, like, Andge. So even in your relationships, like, go to God about it, but, like, hear what he has to say. Maybe you're so focused on being mad at your parents for, you know, what they won't let you do or something, but, like, have you gone to God? Have you let him, like, kind of speak into that? So anyways, that was my takeaway. Shout out to Doug. Appreciate you. He's married, so all is good.
Let's go, Andge.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Thanks. That was just a little, you know, great experience.
Funny story about Doug.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, go for it.
That story actually brought a lot of our friends together.
Yeah,
'cause
we did.
We started a bowling group, kind of
Or the dogs.
called the Dougs. So God.
Ooh, I hope he never hears this.
God can use like the weirdest situations
Yeah,
to
to really
bring
turn it
your
around.
friends closer too. So
Oh my gosh, I think we might have to end it there.
yeah,
But
100%.
shout out to Doug.
Yeah, shout out.
Any last minute thoughts, words,
You know,
feels?
If you guys ever need to talk to anyone about whether it's relationships or just just your day or want to chat, you have like a lot of leaders
Yeah,
who want to
we're
be
here
there
for
for
you.
you and want to hear you,
That's so
actually
good.
hear you. So
For sure. Call,
Yeah,
text, we're
yeah.
just a hang away. So
me and Ange got to go play a softball game now.
yeah.
So
We're gonna go, but we love you guys. Hope that you have the best week ever,
Yes.
and we'll see you next time.
I guess I'm Pac-Man.